Welcome, 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 everyone who is listening and has subscribed. I truly appreciate it and I'm very thankful. I'm, of course, your host, Gloria, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and follow my IG and Facebook. Click on Linktree where you'll find all my social platforms. And I want to welcome everyone to episode numero uno. That's right, guys, it's episode number 1. And today I am very excited because I have a friend of mine who I have not seen in years, Rossana. I want to welcome you to True Life Talks. How are you?
Hey girl,
Hey girl, how's it going?
I am blessed and highly favored, managing day to day with this freaking pandemic.
Pandemic life. Speaking of pandemic life, guys, I'm gonna be having a segment called Gossip Segment. But since I'm Latina, I'm gonna be adding a little bit of flavor. So I'm gonna be changing it to El Bochinche es. So El Bochinche es in English is pretty much the gossip is. So that's how we're gonna keep it rolling. All right, guys. So, girl, how's life? I know you said pandemic. How is everything going with being quarantined? Because I think we've been quarantined since March.
Me, no. I was still working at that time. I was working at it. I work for a cardiologist office, so I was still going to work. My 1-year-old was, not one anymore. He was a few months. He just turned 1. He was still going to daycare. The only one that was quarantined was my oldest. So it was us two pretty much out until June. Then that's when I started my work from home process. And it sucks.
You don't like it?
Hell no.
You don't like working from home?
No, I can't get nothing done. I really can't.
What? Yeah, no, I get it.
With a baby and an almost teenager, like, they think you ain't got nothing to do, like, at all. So it's just like, it's too much. And then sometimes, like, I get distracted very easily.
True.
You know what I mean? I just don't want to do nothing but just watch TV. I'm home all day. You know what I mean?
Start eating.
Yes. Or, you know what I mean? It's just, I feel like you can't enjoy your home. Like, you know what I mean?
You're there all day.
I'm here all day, every day with my kids. Like, my only alone time was when I was going to work. I didn't have to worry. I mean, you always worry about your kids, but at that moment, you're at daycare or school, you're at work. That's like your own free time. And if you have toddlers, you can't even use the bathroom by yourself. So,
very true.
yeah.
I think I'm handling well. Maybe not. I think I'm lying. I think March is when Corona started becoming very big, which was a horrible month because March is my birthday, my youngest son's birthday, and my oldest son's birthday. And I have 3 kids, everyone who doesn't know. I have 3 boys. And so we didn't get to celebrate shit. I didn't celebrate. No. Once I heard Corona, I'm so sorry. I have kids. I get paranoid really fast. I don't know why. Maybe it's my anxiety. But
Corona started right when I moved into this apartment.
Oh, wow.
Literally.
That sucks.
When I moved in, that's when the curfew started and everything. So I've just been cooped up in here ever since. He couldn't even start school because I signed him up the week before spring break.
And you moved.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
I signed him up the week before spring break. So he was going to do spring break, and then his first day was the return.
He never came back.
No, there was like 2 more weeks. And he was like, what the heck? Like, I want to go to school. Like, I've been, I couldn't do nothing, whatever.
Yep.
So ends up being he's stuck at home till the end of the year. Massachusetts don't use kind of the technology Florida schools have, like the laptops.
They're all different, yeah.
They're very old school and delayed back over there, in a sense. You get what I'm saying? Like, as far as like everyone having laptops and everything is done virtually or on computers, no, we still get a shitload of papers in a folder. The first day of school, we gotta write that off. It's just still old school. Like when we was back.
My niece is in elementary school and she has virtual computer, so I don't know.
Well, it depends the area, maybe funding, all that stuff. So, not Adrian. Everything was old school back in Massachusetts. So
no, I know that with my kids' school, they were providing tablets to parents that didn't have computers. But my boyfriend is a tablet tech person. He has laptops everywhere. So thank God, all my kids were able to have a laptop. Except my oldest. My oldest school, they gave him one because he's in middle school. He's 13. Teenage life. Great. So they gave him one, but my other two, they do have it. So that's been good. But it's been like, I don't know, I guess quarantine life with kids and like the virtual school is just it's been very challenging, I should say.
I hate it. I hate it all. Even my oldest hated it. One, I would have to fight with him to log in. I would make sure while I was at work, put an alarm, call him, Adrian, you need to wake up. I don't want to log in. He would not participate to the point where he failed virtually and had to do summer school for math.
Oh,
So
man.
that was a pain.
Yeah.
Then it's just like, I'm not home. I'm one of those parents that I have to work. Like I wasn't sent home. I'm not home with my kids to be on top of them with their schoolwork.
Yeah,
No.
and I know that transition from school to home was hard because even like when, like I said, back to the pandemic starting in March, I didn't go home right away. I didn't go home till like, I guess the end of March, early April. And then before that, the kids already had, oh no, they didn't start school. They were still in spring break. But I had came back to working. No, were they still in school when the pandemic started? It did because the spring break.
No, it was right when spring break. They had that week and then they extended spring break for 2 weeks because they were saying like, oh, it'll go away in 14 days.
Yeah, because then they eventually picked up virtually towards the end of the school year. I'm trying to think. I know I was going crazy. Okay, so I got sent home around March, April, towards the end of March, April, and I started working from home. And then when they picked up back on the virtual thing, I was working from home from a call center environment, plus having to divide 3 kids in 3 different rooms. Between my breaks, I was like trying to make sure everyone was on the screen, everyone was paying attention. Then you had my middle son kind of going back and forth with with his teacher because his teacher is like Jamaican, so he's Caribbean, and he has that like he don't put up with
nonsense.
Respectfully, he's not gonna put up with your kid shit. Respectfully, and so my son, he has like the middle kid syndrome, like. Not purposely, but he like kind of goes off as being a smartass. Not purposely. So when he would answer back to his teacher,
he'll have like a little slick comment.
Girl, it was like in Aiden, in his accent. His teacher had a very strong accent, so it was like kind of that. And I had to kind of chime in because I'm like, hold up now, you're not gonna keep talking to my son like this. So I'm like, Mr. Jackson, like I'm right here, like hold on. So what's going on? So I had to hold meetings with him virtually. And it was like, all right. So then it made me feel like, okay, we got to really step in if we're going to be at home, working from home, being a parent, and having to help these teachers school too, because how are they going to control your kid from home?
Yeah.
And I say that because I saw 2 siblings fighting. In my kid's class, you can see it on camera, and you can see the teacher like, hey guys, cut it out. And they're going full blows. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what do you do? And if the parents are not paying attention, what the hell do you do?
Or the parents that just be like, that's what your teacher is for, learn. You know what I mean?
Or like, those parents that just don't give.
I think when I think of virtual learning, like, I think of that video that's going around that the mom walks in naked and the teacher's like,
my goodness.
Oh my gosh, she's naked. And the little boy in the other screen, he's just asleep.
Turn off your camera. I was my brother, but I was like you don't see nothing. All of a sudden, and then she bent, so her boobs went from like a little bit up to all the way down. I was like, oh hell.
The boy just looking hella awkward, like his eyes are like moving side to side, like what's going on?
I was just dying, like. And first of all, I get it. Parents dress however they want. She was butt ass naked, like. You have a grown, like your son, he's not 2 or he's not 1. Like your son is
a whole 9 years old.
Like he knows like if you shaved or not. Like he can see everything. Like first of all, you should not be that comfortable around no growing child because at this point I was like, oh man, so that was gross. All right, so you could say everything is starting to work out for you, like with the corona thing. Are you starting to tap into comfortness, as in like working your son's school? Because now we're into the virtual a little bit more.
Before summer, we were able to pick and choose if they wanted to do virtual or go to school.
Yeah.
My son from the jump was like, I want to go to school, because he took accountability for himself. Was like, I'm not going to log in. I'm not going to be paying attention.
Oh, he knew.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
He took accountability.
That was very honest.
And he just wanted to make friends because, again, he's been cooped up in this house for months.
Well, that and he's moved from a different...
Exactly. We just moved here from a whole different state. Like all his friends, he still talks to every day, like when he plays his little PS4 games or whatever. Right. But it's not the same as having real life friends,
No, for sure.
So, I mean, he's doing better now.
And the whole Corona thing, like, he's taking precautions, and
that boy would not leave his house when Corona started, because he knew the people that were high risk. He has asthma, so he knew people with asthma were at high risk.
Right.
That when I tell you he was on top of, like, I'm not going nowhere. Give me the hand sanitizer. Give me my mask. Like, he would not go anywhere unless he had to.
Well, that's good. That was my fear of sending my kids. All my kids are virtual this year, and I'm like, hell no. And it scared me because I just, like, there's 3 of them, and to me, I'm like, everyone's immune system's different. You don't know, because you can catch it, God forbid, because I don't want you to, but it could be totally different. And so that made me fearful, and I'm like, nah, y'all have to stay home. And of course, their kids, I want to go to school. And I'm like, no, you want to get sick. And they're like, nah, I'll stay home. But I do have other friends that are also allowing their children to go safely to school. And it scared me because then my middle schooler, his school ended up calling, like, hey, we had a scare with the teacher and the student. And I was like, you see, this is exactly why I didn't let y'all asses go to school, because
his school is actually pretty good. He takes the bus to school.
Yeah.
So before anyone gets on the bus, they have to wear a mask at all times, and they get their temperature checked at the bus stop.
Okay.
Once they get to the school, they do another temperature check before they get off the bus.
Right.
And they have to have masks. They have one way in, one way out, even though he said he finds it annoying. Yeah, like he finds it annoying. Like, why can't I just go this way? But, they have, like, they're on top of their stuff when it comes to social distancing. And he can also pick and choose each semester if he wants to stay in school or continue to go virtual.
Oh, okay.
So he has that option throughout the whole school year. But he himself knows he's not going to do it virtual.
Well, that's very responsible of him, because I'm still having to be on all 3 of their asses, be like, hey, because their teacher, I'm in contact with all their teachers. I'm like, you do know I'm going to know if you're not doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the hassle. And I think that's every parent right now is just going through that. And hopefully...
Not even that. Not only dealing with their kids, but with their work life. Some parents probably worked the whole pandemic, like I was in the beginning.
Yeah, no,
I still had to physically go to work. You know what I mean? And I'm putting myself at risk, my kids at risk, because I'm coming home, and I work in a medical office where people in Florida, they're just ignorant and stupid. Like, Charlemagne is not lying when he says that all the people come from the Bronx and Florida.
Moving away and coming back, I realize how crazy the people are here. No, listen,
these people, especially these old people, like, that live in... girl, I don't want to put nobody on blast or people hate me, but, yo, the old white people in East Bubblefuck, they be feeling hella entitled. Like, I don't want to go in there. I don't have to wear a mask. Then don't come.
Right.
Like, we're trying to keep it safe for you so you can still come see the doctor or whatever. You're making it difficult by refusing. And I don't want to get political, but refusing to wear a mask because Donald Trump says it's not necessary, or because Trump said, oh, I'm good, or he's not leading by example. And I'm sorry, it's a lot of those type of people.
Right.
I ain't trying to get political or racial.
Right, no, for
but
sure.
I'm just keeping it 100.
No, I mean, you work there. It's what you see. You're saying what you see. So.
I would call patients, because, again, I work for a cardiologist.
Right.
People still need to see a cardiologist doctor. They have heart issues, whatever, And family members are concerned. Like, I would set up all the appointments for those who wanted to see the doctor virtually.
Mm-hmm.
But then it'll just be those that still wanted to come in person, but didn't want to follow our guidelines. If you don't follow the guidelines, then you can't come in. I'm sorry. Like,
you're gonna.
I haven't been around. No, it don't matter. Like, it don't matter.
Yeah, no,
but
so you did say that your son is new to here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna just jump into it. The reason why I named this episode "Taking a Leap of Faith" is because we both went through something similar. We're both Well, you're not from Florida originally.
I was born and raised here.
You were born here?
Yeah, I was born in Fort Lauderdale. Raised in Wynwood, and then I moved to Orlando when I was 12.
Okay, so I was born in Gary, Indiana.
I don't even know where Gary, Indiana is.
Girl, everyone's like Gary, Indiana. Oh, Michael Jackson, blah, blah. Okay, so yeah. So I was born in Gary, but at 3 months old, which I don't obviously remember, I moved to Florida. And so I basically say I'm from Florida.
Yeah.
So we both have that in common, that we lived in Florida and we moved and we came back. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that. And I guess while we get into it, they'll kind of know why I titled that. So before I get into my story, obviously I want to know a little bit more about you, because I know obviously we met in high school and we became really cool. We had a lot of the same friends. And then obviously after, I think I moved away 10th grade year.
I moved freshman year. After freshman year.
Did you really?
Yep. After that summer of freshman year, I moved that summer.
Okay. And we went to Oak Ridge High School, guys, in case everybody wants to know that's hearing this, that lives in Florida. Okay.
Yes. 2004 was when I moved that summer.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So I left the middle of 10th grade year. Okay. So when you moved where when you left 9th grade?
To Massachusetts.
So you lived there that long? Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So when you moved to Massachusetts, you were in 9th grade, and then I
started my 10th grade year there.
Okay, you 9th grade in Florida, 10th grade there. You got pregnant with your son
senior year, 2000.
Me too.
Well, he was born 2008. So I was pregnant in 2007.
I had my son my senior year. Like
me too. 2007.
Like he was born in March and I graduated in June. Like he was there when I graduated. He was a little puny. Okay, so you had your son your senior year, and you were still living in Massachusetts. Okay, so talk about a little bit about that. Like moving from anywhere south to north is a huge difference.
Yeah, it is.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, moving, obviously nobody wants to move where they're accustomed to and comfortable at or whatever. So when I moved to Massachusetts, I spent the summer up there. It was so depressing because again, it's a whole summer, no school. Some of my dad's family members lived up there. Like I was staying with my cousin from my dad's side until my stepdad bought the house that we moved into, whatever, before I started the school year. And my dad's side of the family, they're like 10 times older than me. I have nobody my age group on my dad's side, or they're 10 times younger than me. So again, by myself, no friends. At the time, we didn't have the technology that we had now. You know, like, yeah, everybody had their cell phone, but it was either prepaid or, they didn't have internet, or it was always something. You know what I mean? So I was still in that little gap of not having the technology that we had now.
Right.
So I lost a lot of contact with my friends from Florida or whatever, besides a few until MySpace kicked in and we were able to reconnect. And then once the school year started, it was, I'm not gonna lie, I transitioned very easily. But like those first 2 weeks, like it's kind of awkward. Like you're the new girl, like girls are looking at you like, who the fuck is this? And the guys are like, who the fuck is that? You get what I'm saying? Like, so it's awkward, and you don't know like, is this even a good group to hang out with? Because you don't know the backstory of these people. Like, am I hanging out with the right type of people? Because I'm not trying to, it was just awkward until, I want to say I got comfortable with after like a month. Because the people up there, like, they're cool. And till this day, I'm very good friends with some of those people. You know what I mean? So I transitioned very well.
And then
I was just myself. Like, I was, at first, they called me Florida because that's where I came from, to the point where.
Did they call you country? Because they called me country. And I lived in Maryland. When I left Florida, I moved to Maryland. So they're like, oh, you sound country. I'm like, no, I
never got that. Everything. I got that very, I probably maybe heard it once or twice, but I don't have a country accent. I don't think I do. No, I think if I do have an accent, it's like that Miami accent, you know, like with the Spanish twist to it.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten that.
I mean, I'm so used to being around Spanish people, I don't even.
Yeah, but I hardly ever got like, oh, you country, unless it's something like oh, I like some type of country food. Like,
You know
what the
what's
hell
so
is
funny?
that?
They call me country, and then once they got to know me, they're like, "Oh," because they didn't know my race. I mean, well, I look white, but they didn't know what I was. So they're like, "Oh, so you a white girl? Oh, you're mixed. You're white and black."
I got that so many times.
I'm like, what? I never got it.
And the fact that my name is not a Spanish name, like I don't have a Spanish last name.
Oh, okay.
My name is not Spanish at all, from the last name and first. I mean, the first, yeah, but
I'm like the first name, yeah.
yeah, my last name is not Hispanic at all. So a lot of people assumed that I was mixed or whatever. To one time, this one girl, she named me Lilo from Lilo and Stitch because they say I look like her. And that name never went away. So if I go to Massachusetts, everyone up there calls me Lilo.
I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah.
Somewhere on your, I don't know if it's on Facebook or.
Yeah, a lot of people call me that. That's the nickname that they developed for me. And then in Florida, it's completely different. It was like Rosie or Rossana. Like I never really had.
I will always call you by your first name, but I do that with a lot of people. Even if they have nicknames,
me too.
I don't ever go to their nicknames. I always kind of keep it how I met them. That's how I am. How I met you is how I keep it.
Yeah, me too. Like if you introduce me by your nickname, like there's people in Massachusetts that I call them by their nickname and find out years later what their government name is. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. Like I thought their name was so and so. But yeah. But the transition was very different. Like I feel like up north are very well advanced than Floridians because I can honestly say I was innocent compared to like conversations I would overhear like when we were in class, like sex, and I'm just like, bro, I'm still watching fucking Proud Family and That's So Raven. Like I felt like I was very innocent and I was delayed in that type of dynamic. Like I'm like, damn, y'all having sex already? Like, you know what I mean? Like, like my sophomore year, like they would talk about it like normal. Like if you wasn't having sex at that time, like you're a big lame. So I'm just like, well, dang. Like again, I'm still over here watching Proud Family and That's So Raven. The hell? So that way it was different. And then like their hanging out and the type of hanging out that we did, I felt was very different. Like I was very engaged in after school activities when I was in Florida. You remember at Oak Ridge, I was a cheerleader. Yeah. I did track. I did all that stuff. And then I would also volunteer like at my middle school because I used to like majorette dance. Oh, really? There. Oh. So my freshman year, I would go to help with the practices and stuff like that. Like I was just very engaged in school activities. Where in Massachusetts, you don't do that. You know what I mean? It's just.
Why do you think so? Do you think because the kids weren't more engaged in after school stuff? They were more.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, like they were like doing their own thing or whatever. Like it was very rare that somebody would do after school stuff. Like I tried. Yeah. It just didn't feel the same. Like I used to when I would go to Oak Ridge, I used to wake up happy as hell to go to school. Like you couldn't fight me to stay out of bed, to get off of bed. I would wake up early.
I think it was the crew too.
Yeah, like and just the dynamic, like from the bus stop, like waiting to get to school was always fun. Being on the bus was fun. You know, like lunch hour. Well, yeah, I lived all the way by like freaking Holden Ave. So I had to take the bus.
No, I lived in walking distance, but it was still far for me walking.
Yeah, so I took the bus. So yeah, so I just had fun in school. Like I can say freshman year was the best year of any. Well, I would lie. Middle school and freshman year were the best years of my school life. Because once I moved to Massachusetts, like yeah, I had fun, and I had friends, I had associates. You know, I was very engaged with people, but I can say that they weren't. I didn't feel like I was genuinely part of that group because they have already been pre-established, like from elementary and middle school. Right, exactly. You know what I mean? And it's like again, I would have stuff in common with a lot of these people, hang out with them, but I still felt like outcast a little bit.
No, for sure.
So it's like I never really had a consistent group of friends. Like, yeah, I'll talk to them, like, or if they invite me somewhere, I'll go, whatever. But I can't say like I have friends that I'm gonna be friends with forever. Like I have a rotation of friends. You know what I mean? And then as I got older and did different things, I grew out of those people.
Yeah, no, for
like
sure.
I've just always been like that because I've never been really, as a kid, I constantly moved and I transferred to a lot of different schools.
So I guess you got used to.
Yeah, I got used to not having a permanent, consistent amount of friends besides a select few. You know what I mean? Like from when I lived here in Florida, like I probably kept in contact with one friend, and I've known her since middle school or whatever. But
yeah,
it was on and off. Like it wasn't a consistent thing either. You know. But
no, I think I've done that too because when I left here at 15, and I lived in various states though. I lived in Maryland. I lived in Massachusetts. I lived in New Bedford. I think.
I know where New Bedford is.
I lived there. That was. It wasn't crazy, but so I was like mad, in Maryland, Massachusetts. I lived in New Jersey for a little bit. That was crazy. And then I eventually moved to Illinois, which was on a borderline of Missouri. So I lived in a really small town. But school wise, I spent the rest of my high school years in Maryland. That was a transition just because I have lived in Florida my whole life. I have never experienced snow. And I actually busted my ass in snow. Do you remember those? Do you remember in high school those sandals you were wearing that were see through?
The Chinese slippers.
The Chinese slippers.
Girl, I had them in every color.
So me too. Okay, so here I am, a Floridian, going to the cold, right? And it's snowing, mind you. And my mom was at work, and my baby brother was at the babysitter, so I had to go across the building to go get him. That was it, across. I wore my Chinese slippers. I don't know why. I don't know why I wasn't thinking. Because it's not that cold when it snows. To me.
Yeah.
It's not that cold, right? So I'm like thinking, okay, I'm going to just grab one of these shoes real quick and get them. As soon as I walked out in those slippers, I didn't see it, but the ice saw me. And I went, and there went everything. And I just landed in a whole bunch of freaking snow rather than ice, thank God. But it was horrible. And I'm like, okay, checking that off the list. Can't act like I'm from Florida anymore. And
at least you slipped on black ice. I slipped on salt. That's supposed to prevent you from slipping.
Yeah, that's horrible. And then going to school was like, it was just different. Like, everybody in Maryland, people in Maryland speak different. They have a different accent. And everyone knows that. Even themselves know that. And I love them.
And where do you leave Massachusetts?
Every state I've lived in has a different accent. But Maryland, honey, their accent is strong. And I love y'all. I love y'all, my Maryland people. I love y'all, but y'all accent is so different. And so people will be like, oh, you're so country. You sound country. And then they're like, oh, you're a white girl trying to act black. And then I got, oh, you're mixed. And it's like, no, damn it. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Spanish, even though I look white. So then I never got offended. You know what I'm saying? And then you have those girls who be like, oh, you're not really Spanish. You're pretending to be Spanish. And then they're like, oh, say something. No, fuck you. I'm not about to speak Spanish for you. I know what I am. And trust me, I come from a very strong Puerto Rican background. So I had that race battle. And then I was just like, well, this is stupid because I'm so used to being in Florida and your environment was, I was just always around. They already knew me. So being over there was just so different because it's like you almost had to fight to prove who you are. But that's not who I am. So then I was like, well, if you don't believe me, then kiss my ass and I'm going to keep pushing. But then obviously eventually I met up with my Spanish crew. And I got along with everybody in school. And I spoke Spanish and people started believing me. That was just so dumb. And I'm like, all right. And high school life was good. I was on a dance team in ninth grade? My little crew. Shout out to Flow Status. I love them. And so that was the crew I was in. So I was sad when I left Florida because I didn't leave my friends. I didn't leave my crew. And then when I went to Maryland, in the class, as a class you can take, they had a dance class.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what? And I had it as my elective. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. You knew what you was doing, because I didn't want to leave dance. And I took that, I think my 11th grade year. And I think that was just because my 10th grade year was just like trying to figure everybody out. Because I left in the middle of 10th grade of Oak Ridge and I went to Maryland. So it was just figuring everybody out. And then 11th grade, I already had it. Kind of.
Yeah, I can say the same for me too.
Yeah. And then going into that class is what really gave me like that. That was my relief. The music, the dancing. I was like, oh, okay, this is it. And
you see where, I was a cheerleader
right
at Oak Ridge. I was like, maybe I'll try the cheerleading team here in Massachusetts. Girl, it was like, bring it on. It was very preppy. And it was funny because in Bring It On, Gabrielle Union's colors was Oak Ridge colors, I think.
Yeah, except she had
they had orange.
Yeah. Ours was like gold, so gold. And
then Massachusetts, our colors were maroon and gray, kind of like the other Toros, but theirs is red and white.
Right.
When I saw that cheerleading team, I'm like, ain't no way in hell I'm gonna make this team, because if I show off any of the cheers or anything that I learned at Oak Ridge, they're gonna be like, who the fuck is this ghetto bitch? Like, we had a routine to peanut butter and jelly.
And for everyone who doesn't know, Oak Ridge High School is pretty much all Black and Spanish kids.
Yeah,
because that's all I grew up with.
I mean, so was the school that I went to in Massachusetts. It was that city in general was predominantly Dominican, Black, Puerto Rican, and Cambodian. That's from what I remember. Really? A lot of Cambodians, Spanish people, and Black people.
Yeah, I've just been around a lot of Hispanics and Black people my entire life.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's pretty much.
So the cheerleading team consists of the little population of white people. So there was like very like to the book and very like Los Toros type of routine, where mine was more Gabrielle Union's team. Like, so I'm like, nah, I'm not going to embarrass myself or whatever. So I didn't participate in any school activities. Then I want to say it was my junior year. We came up with a dance team. Like, some of the friends that I had were like, we want to do dance, because there was like a local dance team there. They were amazing. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to try out for this team and embarrass myself, because they're too good. Right. Or whatever. So we did one for the high school, just so the high school can have like the dance team or whatever, and for us to have something to do. That didn't work out. We never performed anywhere. We just did practices. Right. That's it. But that was as far as I did, like, with joining stuff in Massachusetts. Other than that, it was just hang out with friends, and I started working as soon as I was able to work. So
yeah, me too. I started working at 16. That was I had my first job. I worked at Godfrey's Express. It was like a wing / burger / rib place.
I'm gonna make it sound really, really old. My first job was at a video store.
A video store? Thank you for that. I sound extremely ancient right now. We don't even have that shit anymore.
Yep. It was like a bootleg blockbuster.
Oh my goodness. Like Hollywood.
And it was kind of creepy because I had they were kind of advanced. They had like online ordering and everything, but all the online ordering was porn. And it would be like old.
What?
Yeah.
Where the hell? At what age was this?
I was like 16. And then like the back, it was like strictly for porn, but I wasn't allowed back there because I was underage. But they would bring the videos from the back to the front, so the people who order it online can just pick it up.
Is that even okay for you to be around at that age?
I don't know, but I was creeped out. Like, it was just nasty. God. Like, the type of people, and it'll be like the little cute old men. Yeah. Like, oh, he's such a cute little grandpa, like, innocent. Over there renting out like 5 fucking DVDs of porn.
Let me tell you something. So people are a little.
And then it's just like, they would return it, and I'm just like, I don't want to touch that. Like, I don't know if they left any residue on this shit. Like,
shut up.
That's nasty. So I would when I would go in, they would have like movies on display, and I remember that's when Shark Tale came out with Will Smith.
Hey, I love that.
That's
movie.
my favorite.
I love that movie.
I would always play that, and then just like watch that, organize the tapes and the DVDs or whatever, and then. Just the porn part was just like
no. Then you get a beer hole that comes up to you and gives you back the video thing, and now it's all sticky. I get it.
It's just nasty. Like, Where's your wife? Like,
they ain't got one. That's why they gave you back that sticky ass videotape.
so I'm just like, I hope you. I'm like, I'm underage. I can't be touching this stuff.
Nah, that's gross. So, I have a question for you. How would you say, or what would you say, or how do you feel? Moving from here. Oh, well, your son was born up there, right?
Yep, both
He
of
was
them.
born. Okay, so maybe this was. Well, then it didn't affect them. Well, maybe moving. Okay, so let's just do this for me, I guess then, since I moved to different states, right? So I had my two older kids. My first two kids, I had them in Maryland. And then in Maryland, I stayed there, had them. And then I eventually moved to Massachusetts for better. Every time I moved is for better opportunity of my life and my children as well.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone is thinking, oh, you're an army brat or whatever. No, I didn't move for those reasons. I moved for better life of me and my kids. I had my two in Maryland. When we moved to Massachusetts, they were fairly young, so it didn't really affect them moving wise because they really didn't.
I can say the same because I did move to Florida. I want to say 6 years ago.
Oh, and then you
I
moved
did.
back.
I did it twice. The first one wasn't to move here. I just stayed here for the summer, so that was like maybe 3 months. And I had Adrian. He was very, very young.
Yeah.
So he still wasn't able to, go to daycare or anything like that. So I just spent the summer out here just
Right.
because, I needed a break. I just separated from his father, whatever. Like, so
Right.
just a little mental getaway. And then I went back once the fall kicked in. Then
What would you say? Like, do you think? Because I know when my kids were small, it didn't affect them. I think it started affecting my kids because even when I moved from Massachusetts to New Jersey, they were still small, and I ended up not living in New Jersey for a long time because it is crazy as hell. And I lived in Newark. I lived right next to the station where you take to go to New York. Penn Station. Penn Station. Okay, that place. I saw so many gunshots. I'm not even gonna get into detail, but I saw so many crazy things there. Long story short, I ain't living there, right? So I moved in for other reasons. I moved to uh Illinois, and I can say there that's where it started affecting my kids. Only when we were moving back to Florida because they're already older and they were established in their elementary schools, and I had them in the boys and girls club.
Yep.
Because I was a single parent with three kids living in Illinois. I was working my shift, and thank God that the daycare I had them going to they could get bused from their school to the daycare, and then you know what I mean. And then, or when I got them back into when I got them into Boys and Girl Club, they were getting bused from the school to there, and they closed at 7. So it was
the same thing with my son in Massachusetts.
Right. So they already had the development of friends, and they had their teachers, they had their life in Illinois, and so when I decided to move back to Florida, after living in Illinois for 3 years, my kids were already older. So
they were
when I had that talk with them, and I moved back to Florida for a lot of reasons, it's because I was very homesick. And my grandmother, she raised me, and she's getting older, and I want my kids to have those experiences and those memories with my grandmother that I have. Not the same ones, obviously, because she raised me, but just to have a lot of good memories. And so I decided to take that leap of faith, and obviously before I moved, I had spoken with the people, which was my grandmother, that I was gonna be staying with her, and my uncle. And I had made sure I had a job and everything. But when I had that conversation with my kids, it kind of affected them, and it made me feel bad. But at the same time, it's like I know I'm making this decision because this is going to be the better
for
of
them.
Our family. And it affected my oldest the most because he, in general, has a hard time with letting things go. Which I hope he doesn't become a hoarder when he gets older because, girl, he don't care if he hasn't played with it. As soon as you tell him I want to get rid of it or give it to someone else, that's mine. Or maybe he has like a sentimental thing to stuff, so he has a hard time. So he was like, my friend's mom, and I'm like he's still small, so you can only make them understand to their level. And I'm like, I understand, Poppy, but this is what mommy got to do. Mommy got a better job over there, which I was getting a better job, better pay. And it's where I'm from. It's you know, the holidays weren't the same.
Oh,
Even
girl,
though like
we can
I
get
had
into that.
friends, I had developed a lot of friends in Missouri. And I say Missouri because the place where I lived in Illinois was called Alton, and it's so small. And I lived so close to Missouri that that's where all my jobs are at. So that's where the majority of my friends are from. And you know, I developed friends, and for birthdays and Christmas and things like that, we always hung out, and it was a lot of fun. But it's not your family.
Exactly.
It's not my grandma. It's not my brothers. It's
Listen,
not my cousins. You know,
that's exactly how I felt in Massachusetts. Like I would get invited to my friend's house. You know,
Yeah.
they would welcome me in. You know, for every holiday. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for it or whatever. But it just wasn't the same because I'm like, okay, I'm with their family, and I'm just here being a lambona, like at somebody else's house.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't see me in that way, or I didn't feel that way.
Yeah,
But I felt like that for years, to the point where I would like, I want to say like the last 3 years or so, I stayed home. It was just me, my son. My mom works at a nursing home, so she'll alternate years if she had to work or holidays.
Yeah.
And it would just be us. And I would get invited everywhere, like, come, don't be home alone. And I'm just like, no, it don't feel right. Like, so I just made it a tradition, like, especially Christmas. I just want to be home with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Thanksgiving or New Year's, that's a different story. Like, yeah, whatever. But it just didn't feel right. It was very depressing for me.
It was for me, and that was my breaking point.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I moved here now was for that. It's just like, yo, I'm going through so much by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm codependent, I'm very independent, and I deal with a lot of stuff that I don't speak on, that nobody knows about by myself.
Right.
So I feel like in that aspect, I'm very strong to handle stuff by myself. But it's like, okay, I don't have not one person to be like, oh, I'm just gonna go over to hang out. You know what I mean? It just did not feel right. I was by myself.
You don't have.
I call my sister every day, but it's not the same aspect as like, I need to go to your house, or let's go to Walmart.
I have the keys to my grandma's house, so I understand. I literally just be like, I will out, like I'm on my way, and she don't even have to come to the door. Like I open it, so I understand what you mean about that comfort level. Because even though, like I said, I've had a lot of friends in different states, and I used to go hang out with them, but it's not the same. Like their food was good, their vibe was chill, amazing, but it ain't my grandma's food, and it's not my family's vibe, and so that depressed me. And then I just, you know, and I called my grandma, my uncle, and I just spoke with him, and I had a very serious conversation. I'm like, this is what I want to do, and I want to know if it was okay. And thank God, and you know, I'm so grateful for them. And they said, yeah, you know, come. They didn't even hesitate. Like, bring the boys, bring the kids. And my grandmother hasn't even met my youngest son yet, so that was great, you know. And I was like, great. So even though my kids weren't okay with it, but they were of understanding of their age requirement, of understanding that this is what we had to do, and mommy was going to make more money. This would be the better. We're going to have a better place. Yeah. And mind you, in Illinois, where I lived, I was renting out a 3-bedroom house, not an apartment, a house with a full basement, a backyard. I had 2 living rooms. I had a nice full porch, water included, for $675 a month. What? I just want to put that out there before, because everyone that lives in Florida knows that is impossible. $675 in the projects is even impossible now. Okay, so, and it was I was close to everything. I was 7 minutes from my job. I was down the street from the kids' daycare because I lived in a small place, and I ended up getting a job in the same city that I lived in before I left, which was a great job, and I cried when I left that job. I wish I could have picked up that job and have taken it with me. It was an amazing job. So when I left, I literally sold everything I had, furniture-wise, because I could only pack up what would fit in my car. And I had a Chevy Equinox. It was just me, my 3 boys, and whatever fit in my car. And I drove by myself with 3 children by myself. No coffee, no energy drink, just Jesus and orange juice, okay? And I drove like 16 hours straight. The only time I stopped was twice for gas. That was it. Because when I got to my grandma's, dropped my kids off, I took a shower, and I got dressed, and I went straight to my interview. No sleep. No sleep. Long story short, I nailed it. I nailed it. I better have gotten that damn job after all that damn sleep. I lost in driving. But the transition to the boys going to the new school, which they went to my old elementary school, which was a wine guard.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it, and it still smelled the same as when I was a kid.
Wow.
Which they recently just knocked it down, and I almost cried because now they built up all the schools, and it looks very nice. However, the scent is not there. But when they went to that school, it was different. And you say that it was more. Well, you said it with, I guess, the way friends were. Okay, so they always say like the technology up north is more advanced than, or the learning is more advanced than it is down here. However, the school that my kids went to, which was a very good school, when I moved to Florida and they went to, and I enrolled them into that school, it was harder, and which made me happy because they're a top school, they're a very good school. It was harder, and so it was a little bit. It was not a little bit. It was quite a difficult transition for them.
Mm-hmm.
Not even because they're going from snow to no snow.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest son had no allergies ever in his life. He went to never having an allergy in his life to having all the damn allergies you could think of because of that pollen here.
So yeah, and my son is the opposite. He gets triggered in the winter months, which is pretty much almost the whole year.
Yeah.
And then he's fine with the humidity, where he doesn't
my son
hardly ever get triggered.
I had to take him to specialists because all the medicine they were giving him wasn't working. Like, it was crazy. I'm like, I can't believe I'm going through this because it's the chain. My kids are all up north babies. So that was transitioning him. That was hard on me because his allergies were, I'm telling you, they were bad. Like, really bad. Then the school and getting them on the same level academic wise with that school was a transition too because they were so advanced. So I just had to do a lot of talking with the teacher, and they did some tutoring in the school. They had the after school program, and so that helped them keep them on track. And now we've been here for 4 years, and now they're okay now. But it was a little challenging for me in the beginning. So how do you think it was for you moving from Massachusetts to when you decided to come back here? For the kids, how do you think? Well, for your oldest son, because your baby is a baby, so.
Of course, he wanted to stay, like with his friends and stuff like that. Just to transition, obviously, it made it worse because of the pandemic. So, he was home all the time by himself, bored. There really wasn't much to do. Everything was closed, or, it was, I felt bad for him. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, well, the little one is going to daycare. I'm going to work. Like, I have somewhere to go.
Was he also from Massachusetts? Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, wait.
Same hospital.
You haven't been living here that long here.
No, I moved this year, 2020.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I think that you... Oh, you know why? Because we're already in October.
Yep. That
is so insane that this year is almost over. I'm thinking, wait, I'm like, bitch, I just talked to you last year. No, it's this year. We're so far in. Mm-hmm. This whole year has been shit.
I moved at the end of February.
I didn't even know what month we're... Like, that's crazy. This year...
No. I moved...
So you moved back this year? Mm-hmm. Yep. I could have sworn when you hit me up to tell me you were back in town was last year. Okay, so okay.
No,
so
it was the beginning of the year, like in February.
Okay.
Right before the pandemic.
Yeah, right before the pandemic. Okay, yeah, because I was like, hey, we need to hang out and blah, blah, and we ended up hanging out with a damn soul.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bendito, yeah, so he was bored.
Yeah, so I think
school-wise, how do you think the academic level is? Do you see the difference in, like, academic-wise?
I think it's the same, like, with you. Like, I think he has, like, a difficult time because of the way that they do their curriculum.
Here is different.
Yeah. Where in Massachusetts, he has an IEP. So
yeah,
over there, they go based off his IEP. Mm-hmm. Where here, they kind of alternated it based off what they can offer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So in some cases, he's okay. And then other cases, it's like, it's more so like the subjects. Like his main subjects, like English, math, he does very well. But like history and all the stuff, like they don't really abide by his IEP. So he has...
So he's all over the
issues.
place.
Yeah. So it's just like, I have to constantly like hit up the school like, hey, he's having a hard time and he feels like he's not getting the assistance that he needs with his IEP.
Yeah.
Besides his main subjects. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's not fair.
That isn't fair. That's
fair, you guys are kind of hindering his education in a way.
Sure.
Like where he gets the assistance in his main subjects, but the other subjects he doesn't.
It's worse because it's virtual.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
well, not for him, but yeah, and that's kind of I kind of also agreed that he should go to school versus virtual because he was not going to get the help.
Oh yeah, he's not virtual.
Yeah, he's not virtual.
He goes in.
He goes to school. And then the thing that he hates
you would
the
think
most,
that him being there, they'd be able to offer him. Well, I don't know because now the teachers they have to be there and they're teaching kids that are virtually and in person at the same time.
See, in his school they do it different.
No, they don't.
They divided the teachers. So if they're teaching virtual, the teachers are at home too. If they're teaching in person, then the teachers are in person. That's how they have it at his school.
My kids go to a charter school, and I think the reason why they can't do that is because they are a developing charter school. So they're still developing things in classrooms, and so they don't have this. I don't think they have the staff to do that. But I would say that's an amazing, and I hope all the other schools are doing that too because
I mean, like there's some teachers that choose to do virtually at school,
yeah,
but they're not teaching live either. It's only virtual. Like if you are virtual, you're only assigned for virtual students.
Yeah.
If you are in person, then you're only assigned for in students.
No, my kids' teachers, they do both, which is a distraction, which could be also frustrating for them because they're over here teaching kids in person and they got two people over there throwing punches left and right. And so you're trying to control both parties at the same time. So I could understand how that is, that could complicate things, even with the teachers too, because they can be getting, they get more frustrated. I can see how they're getting more frustrated this year.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
Listen, I can't be a damn teacher.
I sure can't
because I will beat their ass. Like
I got
kids
patience.
now are just so like.
I got patience for my kids. Right. I just don't got patience for other people's kids.
No, that's me. And I'm glad you said that because everyone raised their kids differently,
girl.
So okay, so you moved here with your kids this year, and you moved with who?
By myself.
Oh, you came straight to your own apartment?
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's amazing. Okay, so you were able to move out here on your own without having to live with nobody?
I did the same thing you did.
But I moved with my grandmother, and I stayed with her for 3 or 4 months until I got my place.
When you hit me up, I stayed with my son's father. He moved here before I did.
Okay.
But I had a goal. I said within a month, and within a month.
And you guys weren't together when you moved down here? So he was just allowing you to stay there to get on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So then I got my place.
In a month?
Yep. When I moved down here, I had my interview in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And which was the job that I wanted. And they offered me the highest. Because, Massachusetts obviously pays way higher than here. So they were able to offer me something remotely close to what I was making up there.
Okay.
Because they wanted me that bad. And I had to postpone my interview twice. But there's no way that they hired me from the spot. Because what they were looking for, they couldn't find nobody with the experience that I had. So I got my interview, got hired on the spot. Then I started 2 weeks later, just because I needed to transition from. Well, no, I lied. I started right away, like that following week or whatever. Then when I finally got the key to this apartment, because it took forever for the simple fact they asked you for your whole freaking life. Mm-hmm. Like, are you kidding me? Like, why do you want to know why I sent somebody a Cash App a few months ago? Yep. Like, so that was taking a while, and I finally got the key literally a week before everything shut down.
Oh, wow.
So, again, I got everything from the storage. Like, I booked a flight to Massachusetts, and I drove back down. Everything by myself with my 2 kids.
That's a lot.
And at the time, Daniel was like 6 months by myself. I flew to Massachusetts with my kids, rented a minivan, got the rest of the stuff for my storage, and drove down by myself with my 2 kids.
That's a long ass drive.
With a 6-month-old.
Yeah, no, my kids were older, so they fell asleep. They were asleep the entire ride.
I took my time. Like, I made sure I had enough money to, like, I drove as far out as I could. And I stayed overnight in Georgia, like, just to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I stopped a few times, not so much.
Well, you have a baby. I didn't have no baby, so... And, like, I didn't have to take bathroom breaks with my kids because I had left Illinois at 7:30 at night.
See, like, me and my oldest, we're the same. We buy all this shit, right? Like, we're going to buy snacks, this and that, drinks, and we don't end up drinking or none of it. So by the time we get back, we got mad snacks, like... I wasted all that money on freaking chips that we're not even gonna eat.
I mean, the sugar even.
All I had was like water and coffee and Gatorade.
Yeah.
And I barely had to stop. I maybe stopped like 4 times, and it was just to fill up the tank.
Right.
And just stretch out my legs and whatever. And it wasn't that long. And there was one time I stopped at a stop, and I slept in the parking lot.
Oh,
Just to close my eyes. And then once I got closer to Florida, I stopped in Georgia, stayed in a hotel overnight. And then early in the morning, we drove. So.
And living with your baby daddy, that's always interesting. Because when I lived with my grandmother, mind you, we grew up in 2 completely different eras.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma, I love her, my queen. That's my queen. I love her. And she's honestly my best friend. So living with my grandmother was interesting because obviously you're living with an older person in general. Got their own
I lived
ways.
with my grandma back in the day when I was like in elementary.
When I lived with her with my kids, you know, she was just always like, you should do this for the kids or do that. And it's like, my kids are already older, we already had this routine, I guess is what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess she was just trying to change it just a little bit. And so I guess that's where the friction, and it's not really friction because she's my grandma. She, you know what I'm saying?
It's like just a new way of living, and they think that.
It's like a little bit of,
mm-hmm.
bickering.
Tension.
Not bickering, but just going back for like, no, well, this is the way I raise my kids, and this is how it's going to be. And
Tension. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, no, this is the way, you should do it. This is the way I grew up my kids. I was like, well, this is a complete.
I know this is going off topic, and you can invite me again to have this conversation, but that's why I have like pros and cons with the Spanish community. And for those who don't know, I'm Dominican.
Yeah.
So I hate that sometimes, not all, because I'm not saying all Hispanic people are like that, but a lot of people can relate to the fact that the older generation feels so freaking entitled.
Yeah.
Like, who birthed these kids? You or me?
Yeah.
How are you going to tell me after I discipline my kid to be like, oh, no, it's fine, or don't do that?
No, for sure.
Meanwhile, back in the day, you would be quick to go find whatever you can find to throw it at us, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mom wasn't that type of mom, but I'm just saying, like,
that's how Hispanics are, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
or like if you do something your way that it's modern to today's way of raising kids,
it's not the right way.
The older generation, like for example, your grandma or my grandma, like, oh, that's why these kids today are blah blah blah, this and that, like make you question your own parenting. Like that's toxic as hell.
Yeah, no, she ain't going to that damn level.
No, but no, I'm just saying, like,
but there are families like that.
Exactly. Like
I know, for sure.
I haven't experienced stuff like toxic,
but it
super like that. Yeah. But I can admit that in the beginning when I had my oldest, my mom used to do that in a way, not into like a toxic way, but like I would have to tell her, like, if I discipline him, don't come after him and be like, oh, come here. No, if he's in trouble, he's in trouble. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I feel like at times we need to be vocal and put boundaries when it comes to the older generation and just raising our kids not the same way that we did, because times have changed. Yeah, no, for sure. So that was just like the only thing that I had with my grandma. And it wasn't a scuffle. It was just kind of annoying. I think it was just annoying. It wasn't really arguing with her because I'm not going to argue with my grandma. But it just was annoying that she was like, this is the way to do it or this way. And it's like, okay, after a while, I'm like, okay, thank you, well. But after I was like, okay, now stop. Mm-hmm. So I guess that was just that. But besides that, it was cool. I'm very opinionated, and so is she. And obviously, she helped raise me. So I guess us being there together, sometimes, it's just like, we're women, whatever. But it ended up working out well. So how was that? It worked great. So, all right. So then you and baby daddy, you moved down here. That's a unique situation because I have never done that. So how did that work out with you guys living there, even for a month? I mean, he lived with me prior when we were in Massachusetts or whatever.
Oh, so you guys were together when you guys lived up there? Yeah. But you weren't together with him down here, right? Or were you guys? It was complicated. I would just say that it's just complicated. Where he moved out here before I did, but the original plan was for both of us to move. Right. And either way, regardless whether we were together or not, I was always going to move down here. Right. Even before I met him, my goal was to come back down here or whatever. It was just ironic that was his same moves after
plan.
you
Yeah,
guys broke up.
it was very ironic. Like, what the hell?
Okay, so you're living with him. It's complicated. Now, the time that you lived with him, do you think that it was? Did you guys argue or anything like that? Because I know you lived there for a short amount of time. You did.
We both got annoyed with each other. But typical stuff like when you are in each other's spaces for so long, and it's like you just need a break from one another. Yeah. But that's a whole like different
topic. No, for sure. All right, so then you felt great moving, I'm pretty sure, because I felt great.
I did whatever while I was there. I cooked, I cleaned, I helped out with whatever I could, like to not look que yo estoy, aprovechando or,
Yeah, trying to take advantage of.
Yeah, so I got my key. I moved here like at midnight. I'm like, I'm packing all my stuff and I'm staying here. I slept in an air mattress. I had no living room. Like my apartment was empty.
That was me when I got my key. So I'm like, well, I love you, bendición, because I gotta go. I packed up everything and I moved, and I felt so great. But I felt very thankful that my grandmother was able to help me, my uncle too, that they allowed me, because it wasn't just me; it was me and 3 kids. And remember, like it's just them 2 in the house. So for them to be just them 2 older, and now they're bringing in obviously me, but 3 kids. And my kids are kids, they're not babies, but they're not quiet, so I was very grateful and thankful, but I felt amazing. All right, so what do you have going on now?
Right now I am currently working on my podcast. It's Let's Talk About It with Ro in all platforms, and I think the Instagram is Let's Talk About It with Ro _podcast.
Okay.
My podcast will be about dating in this time. It's a very toxic dating experience, I feel like, for our age group because of social media, because of what
social media.
Predominantly social media, music. Like for example, like
I think their morals too. I think the older people, the morals were they were more serious.
Now you ain't popping if you ain't scamming a dude. You ain't popping if you like aren't so vulgar with yourself, or and I feel like what my podcast is going to be about is getting perspective from both male and female as to why does that certain gender do certain things. Okay. Like, for example, why does a guy lead a girl on knowing
they're not going nowhere?
He don't see nothing long term with her. Like, he just wanna have sex with her and that's it. Like, why can't you just be straight up? Like, little do they know the outcome of what a woman would say if they were straight from the jump. Right. Maybe that's what she wants too. But no, you're feeding her these false emotions that she's starting to dig you. And then once she digs you, oh, she's clingy. She's this, she's that. So why do it in the first place? Just be honest. Right. Even though they probably fear like rejection or the fact that the girl's not going to be like, what the hell? But at least if you're honest, we know whether or not to move forward to entertain it or be like, nah, I ain't about this. No, you know what I mean? And then also so my podcast is more self-reflection and why you fail in dating. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I'll be talking about some of my experiences because it's maybe something that a past trauma within your childhood or, or the type of person that you are, why you gravitate these certain people into your life. Right. So it's more so about relationship, dating, and self-reflection. Yeah, is what my podcast is about. The trailer's coming out soon. Yes. Again, platform name is Let's Talk About It with Ro on Facebook group, social media. Let's Talk About It with Ro _podcast, and everything else is linked in my link tree. It would be in the bio description on my IG page. And what else? And just trying to survive everyday life with 2 kids and trying to co-parent in a healthy way.
That's important.
Self-healing from past trauma.
That's way more important.
Trying to let go of certain baggage that I don't need in my life. Absolutely. Just a whole new self-growth chapter is where I'm at right now in my 30s. So That's what I got
good.
going
And I'm glad
on.
that you moved back home because now we can hang out more. Even
Yes,
though I
ma'am.
don't live as close as I used to anymore because I moved to a different city, but I'm still available. My car, as long as that thing is working, which it almost didn't
Well, I
happen.
have my car back, so
Yes, which it almost didn't happen, but thank God my boyfriend fixed my car for me, and I was able to come see you today. So okay, so that's wonderful. I can't wait to hear your trailer. I can't wait for your podcast to come out, and I do want to thank you so much
no
for doing this
problem.
with me
I'm always here
and
if you
being on
ever
my
need
first
somebody.
episode because God knows I battle with what the hell I was gonna do. I'm like, should I do this by myself? Should I do this for somebody? Should I do this? I wrote so many things down, and then boom, right when I spoke to you, we had just a conversation that whole day. I'm like, you know what? I need you on my first episode because we just have so much life experience things in common, and we went through so much of the same things. I just felt like I gotta do this for her. It just I felt it in my spirit.
Exactly.
All right, so I do want to thank you again, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, you can find me on IG, on Facebook, True Life Talks Podcast. If you click the link, it's my link tree. It will link you to all the other platforms I am going to be on. I am waiting for Spotify. I still haven't been on Spotify yet, but I should be going on there soon. And you guys stay safe, stay blessed.